entertainment capital of the world, it's the Joe Cortez Show.
Welcome once again to the Joe Cortez Show here in Las Vegas, Nevada, the entertainment capital of the world, the sports boxing capital of the world, and of course the education capital of the world. I say education because we have somebody here today who's a dear friend from my daughter's school days, where my daughter was going to school with Latasha Walker, who's a counselor at Clark County School District, and has been as a counselor for the last 7 years. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you.
Great. We have Delynn May, who's our co-host on the show as well.
Thank you.
Welcome again. I feel like I'm in front of two teachers, like giving me the rules, the do's and don'ts of going back to school. Well, of course, going back to school is not easy for some of these young folks out there, especially if they have the nice hot summer days and having so much fun and staying up late and getting up late and whatnot. All those habits change now when they're going back to school. Can you tell us a little bit about your program? You consist of what? You're a counselor, but what advice can you give to parents out there that are watching for the kids? It's worldwide. I mean, there's no changes around the world. This is the same kind of a program. What advice can you give to parents out there about their children going back to school?
I would say to start, we're about at the 2-week mark now, but to start preparing students with their schedule, getting them back in the routine is a great time. Getting them back to bed early is something that really helps. With my kids, I also do workbooks. So I purchase workbooks to kind of get them back mentally into the swing of things with school. So those are the two things that I usually do.
Okay, now you say mentally. I mean, these kids today, they're on their iPhones or they're on their tablet or on the computer for many hours, which I'm not a fan of, because I don't think that kids should be too many hours wasting their time on the computers. As well as obesity kicks in, they're not exercising enough. And like 20 years ago, we didn't have that. No. So the kids out there always playing out there, outdoor. They went, Mom, I got to go out. They're out there playing baseball, basketball, football. Now they're just playing basketball and the football with their thumbs.
Right, just their fingers are working.
Just the fingers,
Yes, just the fingers.
Yes, that's not enough exercise.
Right.
I mean, the brain is okay. You exercise the brain and the fingers, but that's not enough. You got to physically get out there.
Yes.
What advice can you give? And then, Delynn, I want to ask you the same question. I mean, you had your daughter. You're growing. Bring your daughter up. What kind of guidelines do you have for your daughter with bringing her up?
Right. Well, it's good to engage in different activities, as well as making sure that you're staying focused and staying on that schedule. Right. So all of it just kind of comes into play, correct?
Correct.
Yeah.
Definitely. So just kind of getting them back into the swing of it mentally, having them read. So if they haven't been doing that throughout the summer, so continuing to get them to read, maybe check out some books to get the mind back going again.
Right.
Yes.
Now you said school starts in like 2 weeks?
Yes.
Oh my goodness. Now that might not be the case around everywhere. Why do you think we start so early here in Las Vegas?
Well, we do get out a little earlier than a lot of schools, since we do get out of school in May.
Okay.
So we do go back in August. So it is pretty early, but it keeps them busy.
Yes.
So it's a good thing.
Maybe it's because of the heat. They want to let them out before it gets too hot, and then they're tired of the heat. So maybe it's a good thing. Just get them back in that air-conditioned building.
That makes sense. Yes.
Not only that, but they got to drink a lot of water. A lot of these kids, they don't drink water. I mean, they are just not taking enough, especially in the heat here. This here in Las Vegas, like today's like 105 degrees. It feels like 120 out there when we came in today.
Might be.
Yes.
Yeah. But tell us, so a little bit of the guidelines, of course, with students. You have your kids. What grade are you a counselor in?
So I'm a counselor at high school level.
High school level.
So grades 9 through 12.
9 to 12.
Yes, we're there to support students academically, to support them with their socially, dealing with relationships and learning how to navigate that with friends. And we're often there to be a support system when students are going through crisis or they've experienced some sort of trauma. So we are that support system that handles those situations.
So in other words, you're preparing them for life after high school.
Yes.
But as most of these students, a lot of them go to college, some of them don't.
Yes.
So I'm a little concerned about the dropout rates. What's going on with that?
So that is definitely an issue, and a lot of the barriers are things that students, have a difficult time controlling, and it's their family life. Many of them are doing as best as they can with the circumstances that they're presented with. So they just need as much support as we can provide,
Sure.
As a community to these students. So, and part of it is being active, exactly what you said
Now
before.
you say you're preparing them for life after high school.
Yes.
Do you find that there's a problem these days with these kids? I mean, the parents, they call it Sin City. We talk about Las Vegas. Sin City, we know there's a lot of parents that children have come from single parent
Yes.
homes.
Yes.
Some of them have two parents, but they're out working and not giving the time that these kids need. When they come home from school,
Yes.
their parents are out there working. They have 24 hours. This is like a 24-hour time.
Town.
Casinos, a lot of the
Yes.
population here cater to the hospitality business, so they're out there busy and they don't give enough time and care for their children. And this is something that's can be kind of a serious matter here. What guidelines can you have for the parents to try to help and see and have them kind of like realize that they're doing some things that are not right for their children?
Definitely. The biggest part of that, I believe, is just being active. I don't know, many people aren't aware that the hours between 3 and 7 in the afternoon, many law enforcement consider that the danger zone. So that's the time when students are out of school
Right.
and the time between the parents come home. So that's the time where students need to be active and
Right.
engaged in a productive activity. So that right there, if a student is involved in that throughout their hopefully middle school, elementary, and high school years, that is a lot of time that they do not have on their hands to get into trouble. So that's why being active is so important.
Good. Now, as far as being active and when it's so important, just hours, we say between hours of 3 and 7, what kind of after-school programs do you have in place?
So at our school specifically, we have many sports. So our school's doing great this year with some of our wrestling. We have swimming at our school. We have all the other ones, basketball, football. So there's plenty of activities, even if students aren't into sports. There's also many art clubs and creative writing clubs. And so there's so many things that students can get involved in. I myself was doing a yoga club. So I'm very into
nice.
mindfulness and getting students to kind of slow down. So that's important to me, being a part of giving them coping skills and ways to deal with stress, because many of our students have no outlet.
Oh, that's so true. And dealing with in a positive way.
Yes.
And learning that. So you're able to teach them that not only through your counseling, but then also through the yoga. Oh, that's wonderful.
Yes.
That's
yes.
wonderful.
I mean, so it is a passion of mine, and so I think that's a great part of education, that you can
Sure.
incorporate your passions. We also have a teacher that has a garden. I mean, so many of the
yeah.
students, many of the teachers, pull in and they support students with the garden. So there's many ways to keep students active.
What is the percentage of students that stay with the after-school programs?
So at our school, we do have barriers for many of the students. Transportation is one of them. I don't know the exact number of students who are involved in after-school activities, but transportation is a huge barrier. Many of our students are bused. So they must leave right after school because they don't live in the immediate area. So that is definitely a problem. Transportation, also income can be a big barrier to students doing after-school activities. Parents are reluctant to sign them up because they may not have money for costumes or for equipment, uniforms, etc. So I would say, and then at the high school level, many students are working. So once again, it's the income. So if parents can maybe support them as much as possible in finding activities and just letting them know that, that they're there to help them.
Are there any sponsors out there that come forward, step up and say, listen, we want to help out, support these programs? If there's no sponsors or what? What's going on with that?
So that is an issue, I think. I feel like the community does need to get more involved
Right.
in giving back to the
Sure.
students here, especially in Las Vegas, as you mentioned, this being Sin City, and there's so much going on in this town.
Right.
So it would be nice if businesses and organizations could get more involved with CCSD and help students get
Sure.
that support
Okay.
that they need.
Yeah, I truly believe that your viewers out there really have to listen to what Mrs. Walker is saying about being a sponsor, help out with this student program, because that is a major problem we're having out there, that the kids do not stay because of transportation issues and because they cannot afford to spend money on whatever costumes or whatever they need to these after-school programs. I think that we should start some kind of a follow-up program and see how we can get the community to get more involved, because what they're always saying about all these crimes and juvenile delinquents and dropouts of school, but I don't see nobody stepping up to the plate, at least not enough, to get out there and help out with the Clark County School District to get these kids on the right track. I mean, these are our children, and we care for them, we love them. I donate a lot of time, a lot of hours a week to the community, giving out to help these kids on the right track, but we need more individuals. I cannot do it by myself. And there's big hotels out there that you're kind of like responsible in the way what's going on in this community, because you got the parents working there, but the parents are having issues with their kids, with their children. So they got to step up and say, let's go to plan B. We're going to hire you, but we're going to help you with the kids as well. And that's why we need some sponsorship.
There you go.
Yes.
That's what we need.
100%.
We need somebody to get out there with a baseball bat and tell you guys, help us out with these kids, because...
Or boxing gloves.
Oh, boxing gloves, because we can't do it by ourselves, you know what I mean?
Yes.
But no, that's why we need a lot of help in the community. And I see all these car dealerships and all these fine restaurants that are out there, and all these there's other resources out there. The people that come up and say, well, let me donate. So it's a write-off for Clark County School District. It's a big write-off for you guys to step up and say, let me put my money where my mouth is at. That's what I say. Ms. Walker?
I agree.
Do you agree with me?
100%. I agree with you.
Dylan, you have a daughter, and you were bringing her up, and that was in Seattle,
Yes.
your daughter Chandler.
Yes.
And like all of us, we've had issues with our kids, and when they were going not working right, how do you reward your children to keep them going on the right track when they came to education?
Well, I think it's important that you're always giving positive reinforcement, but not, in the same respect, not rewarding bad behavior. So, you have to, it's a fine line that you walk, but that would also go hand in hand with what you do when you're working with the students, and that would be that you're working with them on maybe like what their future looks like, and you're helping them then to guide them in the direction of what they're going to do when they get out of high school? Is that part of what you do?
That is a huge part of what we do.
Oh, that's wonderful.
So kind of gearing students for college preparation.
Okay.
So we're helping them with applications if they need it, or helping them get their transcripts, get all the documents that they need, helping them explore colleges and also explore career opportunities, find internships. So
Nice.
a lot.
So they can do an internship while they're in high school prior to
Yes.
going to college?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So
Okay.
there are opportunities. Many times the counselors are the ones to provide that information or to get the resource information, and then we distribute it to the students and to the family members.
Wonderful.
So yes, that's a large part of what we do, is preparing students for that next step. What is after high school? So constantly thinking about, I get them to think about their futures is the biggest part of it.
Sure.
And there's many students, there's going to be those students who are college bound. Mostly the active students are the ones that are not as active. They are not as prepared. Is what I tend to see
Sure.
For the next phase of their lives.
Sure.
So that sensitive population, that vulnerable population of students that we really need to focus on in our community.
And now, how can we help out with that with the students that are not so much involved? There's a reason why
Yes.
they either holding back, they either have issues at home,
Yes.
they either being, some students are afraid even, I'm talking about the student being afraid. A lot of children are being bullied, and that comes more in the middle school, but then some of
Yes.
them still go into high schools.
Right.
And of course, we all know it, we can't hide it. There's a lot
Yes.
of gangs here in the city, and that's one of the issues that we're having here with the
Definitely.
gangs. And
Yes.
kids are afraid to go home at a certain time. At a certain time, everybody go home at the same time, so you're going to find other students in the neighborhood that you don't know. You're afraid you're going to get beat up by them, or they're going to try to lure you in to become a gang member. You don't want to be a gang member. If you become a gang member, now you're in
Right.
trouble. Now they want you to do certain things that you normally wouldn't do.
Right.
What kind of a program is there in place with the Clark County School District to help prevent that?
In terms of gangs, there isn't anything. I know that law enforcement many times are involved with trying to provide resources and trying to assist students, deter them from those type of activities. But many times, it's not until after a student is, engaged in an activity and then they are forced to do probation or something like that. And that's where I have a student who actually got into boxing after he was on probation, and then he's doing a lot better now because he had a focus. So once again, getting these kids active, getting them involved in something positive, I think is going to be the biggest deterrent. But they need that support from families.
Yeah, I agree. I also say to the Joe Lobato, the sheriff here in Clark County Metropolitan Police, we have to do something to get together with community leaders to see how we can join forces and stop these children from getting involved with gangs. I think that also the Clark County School District Police Department, they have programs as well, but I think, like you said, they have to get in trouble before they get the help. We want to do the other way around. We want to give them the help before they get into trouble.
Exactly.
So we're going to try to guide them in the right direction. Have a program. It could be a regular program, not after school, but during school hours. Maybe get the whole school, 3 or 4 classes in the auditorium, and have somebody, community leaders or individual sports figures in town, basketball, football, boxing, whatever sport, get in there and talk to these students so they can, these students look up to these athletes. They're like inspiration. They want to grow up to be like these athletes.
Yes.
So these athletes have to go back and give back to the community. But law enforcement, I think if you go there on a friendly type basis and maybe get involved playing football with the students, some of the law enforcement playing basketball, and show them that, take off your jersey or whatever and go out there and play with them. They feel like you're not a threat to them. You're there to help them to be members. That's what we need more of a relationship with law enforcement and the youngsters out there.
There is a resource that I do know of called the PAL. It's the Police Athletic League.
Yes.
And so they do offer resources and different activities for students to do. So that is another resource, the PAL. And then obviously the Boys and Girls Club is always a great
I would like to see the Police Athletic League. I mean, that's how I started back in the days as a referee in the amateurs back in New York with the Police Athletic League. Nice. Yeah, it's a great help, a good resource. But I think that we need that on a regular, I'm talking about at least once or twice a week in each of the schools, that they should be in there. I know it's kind of hard to get the law enforcement. There's so much going on in the community. You need the law enforcers to be out there. But I think we should have, the Police Athletic League should come up with a program. We have so many individuals that volunteer for the Police Athletic League, could be retired law enforcement individuals that are not on the payroll, not actually on the streets here working. So I look at them as volunteer work to go to the school, give a couple hours a week to each one of the schools. And I'm sure there's enough law enforcement individuals, not only from here, Las Vegas, people that move from out of state, move into Las Vegas, want to get involved. You could be a retired teacher. You could be law enforcement. Donate some of that time and volunteer to help these kids. If we can't afford the program, yes, we can. Get a lot of volunteers out there itching to do something to help out. So we got to reach out to them. Start knocking out some doors or getting all the prank calls on the phones, all the people soliciting. Call for positive things. Call for volunteers that want to help out with the Clark County School District.
Right.
That's what we need.
Well, I want to add to that, and what I'm thinking is you can actually, those folks that are coming out can actually share their story.
Yeah.
Maybe they were headed in the wrong direction and they turned their lives around, and sharing their story could change someone's life too.
I was one of them.
Well, there you go.
I was one of them.
Maybe I was.
You were talking about me?
Just kidding.
I was born and raised in Spanish Island from a single parent home, and I definitely got on the right track. I became a member. I'm a product of the Boys Club of New York, and that's how I started as an amateur boxer. And then my brother Mike and I ended up winning 6 Golden Glove championships, the New York, the Easterns, the Nationals, and turned pro when I was 18. Then I went into the Army when I was 18 as well. But I mean, at least I got on the right track. I got involved with something, and that's what we need more of today. We need individuals like myself. Go out there and talk to them about how I grew. There were gangs all around me. There was the Dragons, the Red Wings, the Viceroys, the Enchanters. All those gangs were in the neighborhood. I had to walk through all those gang territory to get to the Boys Clubs every day. I would walk like 2 miles to get to the Boys Club and walk back 2 miles, 8:30 at night, coming back. And not once did anybody bother me. You know why? Because I kept my boxing gloves hanging outside my bag. I walked through this terrace. Nobody would mess with me. That's all boxing gloves. But actually, it really kept me on the right track. And that's what we need to get the kids involved, give you more confidence in your self-confidence. I built my self-esteem. I built my confidence level. But I mean, that discipline, it meant so much. I didn't have that at home because my mom was working and she didn't have the time to give us. But you know what? Johnny Markell for the Police Athletic League and Johnny Defoe, they were always there to help us out and give us that support and attention we needed when we didn't get it at home. So we got it for people in the neighborhood, the trainers and coaches, they're filling that role when we most needed it.
And counselors.
And counselors, yeah.
Definitely. And the attention is a big part of it. The students need that attention. They need that support. They need that guidance.
We need a hug.
They're missing it.
We need a hug.
And a hug. And a hug.
I love
Sometimes
hugs.
we have to do that too.
Yeah, we love hugs. I love hugs.
So definitely.
Yeah. I always call everybody honey. I love hugs. That's me. That's me. I love being with good people. I love sharing my love and caring ways and knowledge and wisdom. Now that I'm a couple of years older, I like to share that with our folks out there to show them that we do care. You young folks out there watching, we do care for you. We want to help you out. We want to get you on the right track.
Just
do the right things. But if you have any issues being bullied and whatnot, what do you do with the schools with that?
So the school district does have what's called Safe Voice. So it is like an anonymous tip system, reporting system, where students can either go online or call and leave information about that, where they don't have to leave their name.
Well, that's good.
And then it will be investigated. So that is one way. And like I said, that's a great way, being anonymous. But obviously, coming to a counselor, coming to an administrator at the school, and just making sure that everyone kind of follows through. Right. On that activity. So as a parent, it would be great if students would come and talk to their parents, and we know that doesn't always happen. We try to get the students to get their own voice and to be able to speak up and, kind of fight for what they need.
Yeah.
So.
Now, I know that there are some families out there that and some children are going through some trauma sometimes when things happen that we don't even like to talk about it sometimes, but we really have to. And that's about being sexually abused by a neighbor, or even a family member, and things like that. That really is very, very touchy and very scary to hear about. And it actually is happening every day out there, around the whole country, around the world. And we got to reach out, see what advice can you give these youngsters or their parents that know something's going on? They're afraid to report it to the police, because here in Nevada, we have a lot of individuals that are illegal, and they're afraid to speak up because if you call the police, they're going to arrest you and lock you, or you get deported. So there's a lot of things that are not right out there. I know some things, they're breaking the law is one thing, but sexually abusing somebody, doing the wrong things to somebody who's underage, they're afraid, or the parents are afraid to call the police because they're afraid that they're going to put them in handcuffs and deport them out of the country. What advice can you give to our listeners out there?
I think at the end of the day, when it comes to any situation of abuse, you do have to consider the needs of the child first. It is not about what the other people involved, the adults, or the consequences of the adults. From my perspective as a counselor, it's always about providing the student with what they need, providing the child with their needs. So focus on what the child needs, and the child needs someone to step up for them. The child doesn't have a voice yet. So as the adult in their life, regardless of the consequences, you need to make sure that child feels safe, and that child feels supported, and that child gets whatever counseling or resources that they need so they can get through this.
Yeah, because I have heard throughout the years, youngsters that are underage and are being sexually abused even by a family member, and they're afraid to speak up even more so because it's a family member. It could be anybody in the family, and they're afraid to speak up because they know that they're either going to get beat up, or they're being threatened in certain ways, or you did something wrong, and they say, if you say that, I'm going to tell on you about something you did. So they kind of brainwash them to believe that if you do something, I'm going to go against you, or you report me, I'm going to report you to the immigration if they're illegal.
Yes.
There's always ways, but they got to be some kind of you're a counselor, and I'm sure you probably have experienced this throughout the years. And I think that there also should be a program in place so that people like yourself, counselors and individuals in the community that can come out, psychologists come out and speak. Somebody got to come out and speak on behalf of the students, talk to them and educate them what resources out there for them to bring them in. quietly to a private setting, perhaps, where nobody else they're afraid to talk to you about it because they don't want to talk about it in front of other students. But maybe they can you have something in place where they can write a note that they want to speak to you in private or something, and you could probably help them out. I don't know what you have in place, but that is something we definitely have to work with.
Definitely. It's definitely an issue that we do deal with and we experience, unfortunately, as counselors, that we have to be prepared to deal with. Once again, it always goes back to the student. And when I'm dealing with the families, I'm not really concerned about the adults in their lives. I'm concerned about the child.
Right.
And our responsibility is to help that child get resources. Unfortunately, many of the children who do experience those type of situations never get any sort of counseling or get any sort of support after that traumatic situation. So it's very important that, we just try to get students to just use their voice in no matter what situation that they're dealing with. Use your voice.
Yeah, well, it's good to have you.
Yes.
For the counseling
Glad to
in the
be
school,
there.
even if this is the only source that they have and the only place that they go, at least they have you, and that is helpful. And kind of going along those same lines that Joe was just speaking about is, of course, the computers. Mm-hmm. We have that kind of not only bullying, but also where there could be that person on the other end who you think might be in the same age range who completely is not. And so there's always that issue as well. And so just keeping the young people focused, especially with the age bracket that you're working with, and keeping them focused on the fact that they need to look beyond where they are currently.
A lot of it's communication.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes,
you just touched on a subject there. You talk about those chat rooms online where these predators out there going after young kids, and they think that they're chatting with another young person. And then before you know it, they're exposed to their private parts online, and they're trying to lure these kids to meet them at a candy store or some theater or some place. They're going to take them on a trip and whatnot, things like that. It happens every day. And I know I'm an alumni of the FBI. I'm not an FBI agent, but I'm part of the Citizens Academy. Dylan and I both I think we have our pins. You have your pin on today.
I do have my pin on today. Yes.
And we're out there. We get involved in the community, with different programs. Where there were a lot of youth programs that the FBI is involved with. One of the things we like to do is to get involved in the community and help out. And one of the things that we've seen in some of our programs with the FBI is that we've seen that these chat rooms. You have hundreds and hundreds of chat rooms as we speak right now. There are thousands of conversations going back and forth around the country. And one time I asked one of the FBI agents, giving us these classes about what's going on out there today with these youngsters in these chat rooms. And one of the answers they gave me is, Joe, we don't have enough agents to go after everybody. There are thousands of them online. Yes. And that's the issue that we're having right now. But if you, as a parent or as a relative, you see your child, you hear your child talking about, sometimes you got to look over their shoulder, see who they're chatting with to see what's really going on out there, because there's a lot of folks, adults out there that know how to lure these kids in with gifts and clothing and sneakers and money and whatever and trips and whatnot. These kids fall into this before you know it. They're behind the eight ball and they're doing things that they should not be doing, and that all comes because they're inexperienced. So I hope that you viewers out there watching and listening, you learn something from our conversation we had today with Ms. Walker, because we're really trying to help out in the community. Dylan, I know you want to ask a couple of more questions before we wrap it up.
Well, I think that having Mrs. Walker here and the opportunity for you to share with the students and give them that positive feedback, especially as we get ready to head back into this school year, 2 weeks away, and just to knowing that you're giving them that positive influence that they might be missing, and the fact that they can reach out to you and reach out to community members and go forward.
Ms. Walker, if they have to reach out for any advice, or any website or something they can reach out to for information or phone numbers here locally?
It's for advice in terms of, there's many bullying websites that are available for bullying. There's also Child Protective Services. that are available, CPS for short. You could even file a report online. It's just, anyone has experienced any problems. So CPS, there's bullying.gov, there's Safe Voice. So there's so many, but just please come see an adult at the school, and we can definitely, we put the student in the right place to get the help that they need.
Right, and of course, if anybody out there, any parent or student, it's not an emergency, but if you have to call the police, call 311 locally here, and they'll give you information, they'll guide you in the right direction, a non-emergency number that you want to call up to get some help and a report, an incident, something that has to be investigated by law enforcement. Please do so. And remember, we're here every week to help you any way we can and give you the best advice we can, because we love you all. Good luck going back to school, and your parents out there, keep your guards up at all times and keep your kids in the right place. Take care, God bless. Talk to you next week. Thank you.